Hello and welcome to episode 1311 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, June 21st. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, it's Friday morning. How you doing? And how did softball go yesterday?
Softball went all right. Lost in extra innings, which is always kind of brutal. I hate losing, and I hate losing close ones.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is kind of like the old adage, or like I'd rather get blown out than lose by 1 run.
I
But
kind of would. I know that
yeah,
it sounds crazy to say that, right? Like, why would you rather get pummeled? It's just when it's close, it stings more. If you just get run out the building, you're like, well, that team was just markedly better. I don't know. I don't know if that's a phenomenon that everyone feels, but I'm glad that you corroborate that, so I don't feel like I'm totally out on an island, because I've said the same. I'd rather just get pummeled than have it just out of reach. And you said there were some calls too that kind of took it out of reach when it was there for you too. So that's always a bummer as well.
yeah. I mean, when my big ass is like running out an infield single and I don't get the call, like that's come on, like let the big guy eat a little bit,
Yeah,
you
come on.
know?
If you're putting in that effort, you got to
Yeah,
reward it. You
yeah,
got to reward it with our
absolutely.
guy here. So I'm sorry to hear that, but you getting out there, getting active, that's good. I definitely missed that aspect of softball. But we got some two starts to talk about, and it's a fun list. It's a fun list this week. Last week was kind of a light list. There weren't too many studs going, and there weren't too many guys that I really wanted to go for. I think this week has some options. We're going in a completely different order this week. I usually pull the list. Justin, I'm not a company man. I'm sorry. I love our probables list, but I go to the RotoWire one. That's what I'm used to. Been using that one since before we got ours from Roster Resource. Well, it was down this morning. So I used ours, which means we're going in divisional order, starting in the American League East. So that's basically, to me, and I don't know if this was like this where you grew up, because you grew up in the DC area,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I grew up in the DC
So
area.
you might have experienced the same thing where the standings were always AL East to NL West. Is that how it was in the newspaper when you were a kid?
Yeah, but out here they do it. They do it in that order, except for the National League, where they put the National League West first.
So they put the National League West first, and do they go East Central?
Yeah,
That's weird.
yeah,
That's so weird to me.
it's super weird. Like the other thing that was like, that I think that West Coast people not really experience was like we wouldn't get scores of West Coast games.
Yep. Yep. That's got to be crazy to think. And
Yeah,
I've told this story a million times before, but my dad used to make me stay up on the like weekend baseball tonights to catch anything from the West Coast and
yeah,
like write down if Edgar Martinez went 3 for 4, because he was a big part of my dad's team, and stuff like that. So yeah, that is nuts to just not even get your own scores there. Obviously, when we're in the East or in the Midwest, as it were, with Michigan, we're like, okay, well, we don't get the California games. That's understandable. But they don't even get them out in California. That's kind of crazy
yeah.
that they don't even get the scores out there. But anyway, we're going in the old standings order. Going through that reminded me of how it always used to be AL East, Central West, and then NL East, Central West. So that's the order we'll go in today. Let's start with a really intriguing rookie who had a nice outing last time out, if I recall correctly, Cade Povich, and now gets a home double dip that has some difficulty to it. Cleveland continues to play very well, and then Texas has been underwhelming, but they're still Texas, right? I still kind of will be duly afraid of them and respect the fact that Texas can get you at any moment. But Povich now 3 starts in. I think he has 1 bad and 2 good, if I recall correctly. Yeah, the first one at Toronto, gave up 6 earned, then 6 scoreless against Atlanta, and then he was solid in Yankee Stadium. 4 2/3, 1 hit, 5 walks. So little wobbly on that front, but only gave up 1 run. So that's where the solid comes in, is that Povich got out with just 1 run and 4 2/3. Cleveland, Texas, both at home. You like Cade Povich here?
Um, I do for deeper leagues, just because it is to start. Texas isn't playing particularly well right now, offensively, but uh, there's still a scary lineup, like you mentioned, and then Cleveland has been, just an extremely deep lineup. Neither team like walks a ton, and so like it's not like I'm like overly worried about the walks, but I am concerned about the walks because the walks can lead to runs.
Exactly.
We've got 2 games now where he's walked 4 and 5 respectively out of 3 games, so that is a bit concerning. Both these games are at home, which is helpful,
That
right?
helps Povich. We
Yeah,
like that aspect quite a bit for
I
what
think
Povich
I
could
think
do.
if these were on the road, I'd probably say no, I'm passing. But especially when you got that run support behind you, as long as he is able to go 5, he's going to qualify for wins and have decent win potential with the Orioles offense behind him. So I think in 15-team leagues, I'm okay with this. In 10 and 12s, I just think you can find better spots.
Yeah, I could probably find an avenue for Povich in a 12, but he's not going to be top of the list. There's going to be other guys that are going to pass him, and we'll get to them too. So we'll start to say like, okay, you're going to go this guy over Povich or not. I don't think this next guy's over Povich right now. And there was some hype for him coming into the year. I think we expressed some interest in Brayan Bello, but here we are now, Justin, and his ERA is at 4.83, but the WHIP is at 1.41. I can be a bit more forgiving on an ERA, especially because a bad start or two can really inflate it. So I'm always looking next level, strikeouts, walks, WHIP, all that. None of that's looking good for Brayan Bello right now. And the 141 WHIP is chief among the problem stats. He's been a hit machine here in June, 8, 9, 6, and 7 in his 4 June starts. He hasn't walked fewer than 2 since May 17th. So Bello gets a double dip at home, Toronto and San Diego. But are we liking him anywhere right now? What's up with Brayan Bello?
Yeah, I mean Toronto hasn't been playing well offensively, but San Diego is a pretty scary offensive team, I think. So I just don't know what you're going to get start to start with Bayo. You get sometimes you get like the White Sox start where he gave up 5 in 4 2/3,
Yep.
only struck out 2, and then sometimes you get like last start, which was 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, 2 earned runs to Toronto. So I think this is a crapshoot that you only really roll the dice with in a 15-team league if you don't really have other options. Other than that, like I just don't think Bayo has shown the level of consistency that you can trust from a guy that you would start in a 10 or a 12-team league.
He's starting to move on from Bello.
I don't have a problem if there's someone that is on the wire that like makes sense as like a pickup that you want to stream or that because we're going to talk about a few guys here in a little bit that are probably pretty widely available in 10s and 12s. So I don't have a problem moving on from Bayo and going to get one of those guys.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to get there too with Brayan Bello. Like, what does he bring to the table? He came into the year with a little bit of a understated profile that we were hoping was going to take a step forward because we believe in Bello's stuff. It just hasn't come to fruition. Strikeouts are up a little bit, but the walks are up. The home runs are still there. Too many hits, as I mentioned. So I'm moving on from Bello in a lot of formats. I might just bench him in 15s and maybe just give him a little pause and see what's what. But I think in 10s and 12s, it's time to start moving on. Logan Allen on Cleveland, the newer Logan Allen. We still have the Arizona one who started in Cleveland, which of course made it all the more confusing. He's still knocking around, but the starter from last year hasn't been able to replicate the success that we saw out of Logan Allen last year. He's got a 5.23 ERA and a 1.48 WHIP. However, the last 3 starts have been pretty good. 2, 1, and 3 earned runs over 6, 5, and 6 innings. Miami, Toronto, Seattle. So not the biggest difficult lineup there for Logan Allen, but finally putting some things together. But trips to Baltimore and KC here. On the one hand, you get the Cleveland support. They've been winning games like crazy. Is that enough to make you take the plunge with Logan Allen, though?
Oh man, I don't think so. Cleveland and wait, no, he's got Baltimore and KC,
He
right?
is Cleveland. He gets Baltimore and KC both
Yeah,
in their stadiums. So double roadie here for Logan Allen.
Baltimore is like the third best team against left-handed pitching this year. according to OPS. And Kansas City has been a scary offense. And you look at like the last 3 games that he has played, they were against Seattle, they were against Toronto and Miami, all of which have been like bottom 5 teams. Or well, I guess Seattle's 21st against the left-handed pitching this year,
and they strike out like crazy against everybody.
Yeah, and then Toronto is the 3rd worst team in baseball, and Miami is the worst team in baseball versus left-handed pitching. So like yeah, you're happy that he has been better as of late, but like the level of competition's been pretty low as well. So I think I'm probably skipping these 2 starts and kind of just reassessing afterwards. Hey, if he goes out and he shoves against Baltimore, or even just holds his own against Baltimore and then shoves against Kansas City, I'm feeling a lot better about Logan Allen because I did like him coming into the season. Maybe just because kind of was early season speed bumps. Because I mean, you take out those 2 7-inning games. Obviously, you don't want to like pick and choose, especially because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, well, you might have been able to avoid the at Colorado, right?
Sure.
But you definitely ate that Tigers one.
Yes.
So like, but if you take out even just that Colorado one, all of a sudden, then his numbers over his last few starts look pretty damn good. So I can understand why some people would go with it. I just think these are tougher matchups than I want to face with Logan Allen.
That's where I'm at. I just don't think I want to go to KC and Baltimore with him. And I don't know that I trust the team context enough to carry me. Like, I love that Cleveland has continued to win 45-26, but I don't know. I could get bludgeoned here, and then I might not even snake a win in either game with Logan Allen because he might not be around for it, is the thing. So, yeah, I just don't feel super comfortable here, so I'm passing on Logan Allen. Casey Mize gets Philadelphia at home and then a trip to the Angels. So it's a classic 1 up, 1 down. He certainly hasn't been as good as things were hoping early in the season. He had a good spring that led into solid early part of the season, but he's become too hittable. I've lost some trust in Casey Mize, and now this month he's gone 4 innings twice, 5 1/3, which wasn't a great outing against Milwaukee, and then 6 innings of 1-run ball against Washington. Any love for Casey Mize in the deeper formats, Philly and at the Angels again?
I mean, he now has 4 of his last 6 starts. He hasn't gone deep enough to qualify for a win.
Yeah.
So now you're putting up against a Philadelphia team that can just wreck any pitcher. I'm not doing this. I think this one is out for me, unless I don't have any other options in a 15-team league. But I just can't imagine a 10 or 12-team league there isn't somebody on my wire that's better than Casey Mize at this point.
That's what I'm saying. There's just gotta be somebody that I'd rather go for than Casey Mize right now.
Especially because you're talking about a guy who's only getting 6 strikeouts per 9 right now.
Bingo.
And
that's literally what I was gonna say. No K upside.
Yeah, like now you're sacrificing those innings from those strikeouts per 9 innings. And it's like, what are you looking at? Maybe like 2 or 3 strikeouts, maybe 4 in a good night. Like, it just, the upside isn't worth the massive downside.
Yep, he can really burn you. Casey Mize can, and I'm just not sure that there's enough potential juice there for the squeeze. Let's go to the Angels. The Angels that Mize will be facing. They've got a pair of guys, and they have intriguing matchups. It's Griffin Canning and Tyler Anderson. They get Oakland and Detroit both at home. Let's start with Canning, a guy I have major difficulties quitting. And the funny thing is, you'd be like, well, then, just watch one of his starts. Maybe that frustration of watching one of his starts will help. I watch most of his starts, and I still can't quit this guy, even though he's got some frustratingly bad starts out there. I can get to Canning in a deeper league. It's 15s only, though. 12s, I'm not dipping down. But I think in 15s, I can get there with Oakland, Detroit. He's been so up and down this year. Do you like Griffin Canning at all?
Only because it's these matchups, right? You're getting Detroit, whose offense has not been great this year, and then Oakland, who just after a strong start to the season, looks like one of the worst teams in baseball again. So to me, like, I've got no problem rolling him out here for in 15s. I might even do it in some 12s. Like, I think I would start him over Bello. I think I'd start him over Mize. So we start, like, this is where I start going, okay, I start ordering these guys, and I go, yeah, I guess I would start Canning over some of these guys just because the matchups are so much better.
I think that makes sense, yeah, because I don't think any of the guys, maybe Povich so far over Canning. And then Bello, Allen, Mize, I think I'll go Canning instead. So maybe I am getting to Canning in some 12s.
Yeah.
And then Tyler Anderson, the lefty, he gets those same matchups. He's actually had a pretty good season, at least in terms of the surface results. Once you dig deeper, it gets a little dicier because there's not good strikeouts. And the whip is at 118, which is not a bad whip on its face, but it doesn't match with the 248 ERA, meaning that he's been running pretty hot. The walk rate isn't great. I mentioned the strikeouts of Tyler Anderson. But again, Oakland, Detroit, I get there in 15s, and I think he's a consideration in some 12s. What about you with Tyler Anderson? Trusting him?
I mean, at this point, I think you just roll with him until the wheels fall off, especially with these matchups. Like, the walks are really, really concerning. He's, walked 8 in total over his last 2 starts.
Mm-hmm.
But dude just gets guys to, like, ground out or fly out. Like, I think when we start, like, writing a post-mortem on this season, and we talk so much about how dead the ball is this year, we're going to talk about Tyler Anderson a lot, because I just think he has been, like, probably the biggest beneficiary.
He's loving it.
Of a deadened ball, because he allows a lot of contact, and not much of it is on the ground.
Yeah.
But, like, it's like the game is the game, right? And I'm not talking about, like, the baseball game. I'm talking about the fantasy game. You have to be able to adjust what you are willing to play based on what the game is in you. And guys like Tyler Anderson, like, they make a lot of sense because, like, they are able to kind of work with what they have, and, he keeps keeping the ball in the yard. He's, just under a home run per 9 this year. And so his walks aren't killing him yet. So,
and remember, we had some interest coming into last season with Tyler Anderson from everything that he had learned with the Dodgers. And, we were like, okay, well, the Angels stink, so it might be a bit worse, but he should still be a good enough pitcher. And he completely fell apart. Well, he's recaptured some of that magic from the Dodgers year this year with Tyler Anderson. And I think it's worth running here. Oakland, Detroit really, 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 really helps it. The ERA will go up from 248, but maybe not next week.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe it does. Maybe, like, this is, like, one of those weird regression weeks, but I just don't think you can predict that that's going to happen this week. Like, this is going to be funny because, like, every year there's a guy who wins, like, comeback player of the year, and you're like, what is he coming back from? Just sucking?
Just sucking,
and, like,
yeah.
And I feel like Tyler Anderson is that guy this year where, like, I don't know if he's going to win it necessarily, but, like, he could easily, like, get votes for comeback player of the year, and everyone be like he wasn't injured. Like, he didn't.
There should be comeback player of the year that's coming back from, like, an injury or, like,
improved.
Yes, exactly. And then most improved because of this exact reason.
Yeah.
Because Tyler Anderson, comeback player, like you said, he's coming back from just having a crappy season.
Yeah.
Whereas, a player comes back from a devastating injury, or, sometimes like Liam Hendricks, and Carlos Carrasco dealt with cancer. They come back. That's obviously a huge deal. Rizzo did it many moons ago. So I think there should be a distinction. I don't mind giving love to the most improved and somebody like Tyler Anderson winning an award for flipping his season. If he ends up with, like, a 3 ERA flat this year, or even something in the low 3s after last year's 5-something, cool. Give him an award, but not comeback, because all he did was come back from sucking. Yeah. That is funny. But yeah, I'm starting Canning and Anderson. I'm probably getting to this guy, maybe. I don't know. I love this guy. Y'all know that it's Jon Gray with Texas. But this is why. That's why I have such trouble with him. Because once I really fall back in love with him, he blasts me with 9 earnings against the Mets, Justin. What the fuck, dude? And he only has 8 1/3 innings across 3 outings since returning from the IL. And to keep adding to the negatives here, because maybe I'm not going to go with him now that I'm talking all this, it's at Milwaukee and at Baltimore for Jon Gray. So I think I actually am going to sit this out. Now, this is one where I might not cut, even though I'm not using a two-step, because I just kind of want him to re-find his footing. He's clearly not back yet with these 2 3-inning starts and a 2-inning relief outing. Like, he's not back to what he was doing before the injury. And so that makes me too scared with Jon Gray. Where do you come out with him?
It's interesting because, like, prior to the Mets start,
You would think it was the Yankees with the way he got pummeled.
Yeah, prior to the Mets start. Now, this is the Grimace Mets, right? So we want to, like,
True. That's a different degree of difficulty. Right? That's a good call.
And for those that don't know, like, there's a meme going around because they had Grimace from McDonald's throw out the first pitch like a week ago, and like since then the Mets have just been like the hottest team in baseball. So
to that end, I have to show you something that I think you're going to appreciate. But keep talking, and I'll G-chat it to you.
Yeah. So prior to that start against the Mets, the game against San Francisco and the game against the Dodgers, like, he pitched well, but he didn't go deep in the game. Clearly, they were feeling like he needed to, like, build back up. That Mets start, while he only went 3 innings, he faced 20 batters. So, like he faced a fair amount of
almost
guys.
A foolish start.
Yeah, they just let him wear it. I think they just said, like, listen, we don't want to ruin the bullpen, so we're going to ruin you instead.
Yeah. And he's coming off a groin issue, so it's not an arm issue. So maybe they're not, they're like, okay, we're not running you into the ground off an arm injury at least.
That being said, considering he hasn't gone deep into a game, since returning from the IL, and these 2 matchups are really, really tough, and they're against really tough teams that make a lot of contact, which is Jon Gray's, major issue, is he gives up a fair amount of contact. I wouldn't start him either here. Like, I'm looking for a different option.
Yeah, I'm absolutely looking for a different option here with Jon Gray. Like I said, I am a fan. I'm gonna hold through this in 15s and maybe 12s, but I don't want to start this. It's too scary. Milwaukee and Baltimore are so scary. And yes, one's the one in Baltimore. Okay, the park can help, but not enough to get me there. All right, so that's the American League. Again, running this a little differently because of the board that I use. So now let's go to the American League, or the National League East. And wouldn't you know, our boy REYLOOOO's back in the saddle again. I cannot wait to see how he doesn't get this 2-step. So we'll talk about him in a moment. But let's start with Spencer Schwellenbach, because they both get at St. Louis and home to Pittsburgh. We're starting REYLOOOO. I put him on the list because of the meme that we had all year with him getting like 10 2-starts in a row and none of them coming to fruition. Schwellenbach is going to get one here. He's been pitching pretty well. It's kind of been a mixed bag, right? 4 starts, I would say. The first one, not too bad. Love the debut. Goes to Boston, gets knocked around a little bit. Understandable, right? In the Fenway. Goes to Baltimore, holds his own, and then faces Detroit and smashes them because they suck. So we've seen some decent work here in 4 starts. Are you getting a Schwellenbach at St. Louis and home to Pittsburgh and anything deeper than a 15? Or shallower.
Yeah, these are really, really good matchups, and so I'm very tempted. Like at St. Louis and then home to Pittsburgh are pretty good starts. And Schwellenbach, while the surface numbers don't look very good, like, he's actually been a pretty unlucky with just 65%.
And it's just the ERA.
Rate.
Right? Yeah. Like, it's the ERA from the Boston start, 6 earnings. He's given up 6 earned in the other 3 starts combined. So he's been really nice in 3 of 4 for Schwellenbach.
The xERA is 360.
I like that.
Like, if we were talking about him with a 360 ERA, like, I mean, even like the 415 Sierra, like if he had a 415 Sierra, we'd be attacking his matchups probably, right?
Yep.
No, there isn't a ton of upside necessarily because Schwellenbach doesn't get a lot of strikeouts.
Sure.
But he's shown some strikeout potential in the minor leagues. Now we want to be careful of that because he did skip AAA and only had like 13 innings in AAA before getting called up. But like the swing and strike rate is almost 14%. Like I feel like there are more strikeouts, and he's getting guys to chase outside the zone too. I feel like Schwellenbach's one of those guys that I'd like to buy on right now. So
yeah, where things aren't too pricey, somebody might be trying to sell, like, okay, I've gotten some good starts, I'll sell this guy off, and you're thinking there's some potential upside here with Schwellenbach. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So for me, like maybe I mean 10s you probably find a different guy, but like I think I'm definitely in 15s, and I think I'm interested in 12s. Like I think I'd start him over Mize.
I would. Team support alone would make me do that.
I think the interesting questions are like, would you rather have a guy like Griffin Canning, who is shown to be volatile, but has good matchups, and would you rather have Povich, who just has the Orioles and Camden protecting him? I think I tend to lean towards Schwellenbach here.
I go Schwelly over Canning. And then between he and Povich,
because Povich hasn't shown
close.
Povich hasn't shown he can go 5 innings regularly yet.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I can get there. I can get to Schwellenbach over Povich. I don't think that's something that shocks me. So I'm with that. I think that makes some sense. So yeah, we like Schwellenbach a good bit, and I like your point about like, hey, if somebody's thinking that they can get out from under it, and maybe he's worth selling, maybe you get a fair price on him as opposed to paying any sort of premium on a rookie, which we know can happen a lot. So yeah, I like Schwellenbach here at St. Louis, home to Pittsburgh. Solid outings. And again, REYLOOOO will get the same. He's an automatic start right now. Roddery Muñoz had the amazing start. Who was it against? I can't remember. I want to say Atlanta, but that's not it because he's from the Atlanta system, and that's the only reason I'm saying that. He's a Miami pitcher. It was against the Mets, 6 innings of 1-run ball. Now, was that, or 1 hit ball, I should say. Was that pre-Grimace? I think that was pre-Grimace.
It was right around Grimace. So.
By the way, you like that Grimace mock-up we did for OOTP?
That's so good. 147 stuff.
Yeah, he got 147 stuff out of 150 on the scale. He's like the best pitcher. So yeah, we made that little mock-up yesterday when we were doling out the content, and everyone's like, I gotta get a Grimace card. But anyway, Muñoz so came back off of that Mets start and gets crushed by St. Louis. 7 runs, 6 of them earned in 4 innings. So now we get at KC at Philly. I think that's an easy no. You can try to talk me out of it for Roddery Muñoz if you'd like.
I would not like to.
Okay, then let's move on. Don't get hung up on that Mets start. It was a great outing. It got some people interested. He had a good outing against Colorado. He had a good one at the Cubs. He has three gems and 3 duds. That is like it is clear as it gets. Like he's as volatile cherry bomb.
And it's 2 really, really bad matchups. And I just
KC and Philly, no shot.
It's not doing that.
Bailey Falter, on the other hand, is not living up to his name, in which case this is a positive. You don't want to be a guy named Falter and living up to your name as a pitcher. He's not been faltering. He's been pitching pretty well, especially his last outing against Cincinnati. He'll get that same Cincinnati team in their park next time out and then take a trip to Atlanta. So it's not an easy run, but we know since he's not playing that well, even in their own park, and Atlanta, their offense obviously muted a bit with Acuna, but even with his last couple weeks there before the injury, they weren't off the charts. Atlanta, they were still scary, but they weren't killing everybody. So it's a double dip on the road. That is scary for Falter, excuse me. But when you look back to May 1st through now, it's been 8 starts of a 3.42 ERA in 47 innings. Now I will tell you, 29 strikeouts in that time. So he's leaning on BABIP and strand rate and getting out of jams and things like that. Is there any love for Bailey Falter in deeper formats for you at Cincy, at Atlanta?
He just doesn't strike out enough guys for me to feel confident.
I think that's the right take.
And he is so much better at home, or actually he's so much better on the road, which is so weird.
Oh, That is curious.
He's got a 4.17 ERA on the oh no, he's better at home. The 4.17 road ERA and a 3.38 home ERA. So maybe
Okay.
like if you're in a daily lineups league, like maybe you because he's got what, a road start and a home start. Oh no, he's got two road starts. No, I'm not starting him. I'm not starting him at, Atlanta's got the short porch. Cincinnati is Cincinnati. No way am I starting him on the road.
That's the thing. I just can't do 2 on the road for Bailey Falter here. So I'm out on that one.
It is
Maybe
weird, though.
here's the thing. He's not behind everybody we've talked about. So there are some 15s where I probably am going to get there. Because, okay, let's just run a few names. Bailey Falter or Brayan Bello. I'm going Falter.
The fact that you have to think about this tells me a lot about how I feel about Brayan Bello. I think I still am. I still am going. No, that is such a toss up. Like I think I'm still going Bello just because I can't get past like how few strikeouts you get, and so the upside is just so limited in both and on the road. I think I'm still going Bello, but I totally understand going Falter.
Yeah, and I don't think it's out of pocket to go Bello there either. It's not super convicted that I go Falter, but I am on them on Falter right now. I go Falter over Mize. I go Falter over Allen.
Yeah.
I go Falter over Gray because Gray's at Milwaukee, at Baltimore. Yeah. So there's some potential in 15s, but I would try to get away from this for the exact reason you're talking about. There's not enough swing and miss from Falter when the ball's in play that much in Atlanta and Cincy. That's where he can get got. I know Justin said that his numbers are better on the road, but not necessarily parks like this.
So his numbers are actually better at home, but he's given up twice as many home runs at home, which is
peculiar,
right? So he's got a 3.38 home ERA, but he's given up 8 of his 12 home runs there.
Wow, that's really surprising. So if he's got a home run issue,
walks at home have an issue.
Yeah, I just worry that this could go south in a big way for Falter in Cincinnati, in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Well, looky here. It's your old friend, our old friend. I don't want to slough Lance Lynn off onto you as if I'm not a big fan of his as well. He's having an all right season. Our guy, I don't know if you checked in on him. I don't know if you got him anywhere this year. A little 4.08 ERA, not bad. Although, once you keep moving to the right, the next stat, the whip, 143. So it's been worse than I thought. I judged him by the ERA there. He gets Atlanta and Cincinnati at home. So he gets the inverse of Falter. Any world where you're getting to our boy Lance Lynn here?
I don't think so. Especially with these matchups of Atlanta and Cincinnati.
That's scary.
Even though Cincinnati has not actually been super great offensively this year, you look at Lance Lynn's last 3 starts, and we're talking about they're all bad, right? So Colorado, 4 innings, he gave up 4 runs. Pittsburgh, 4 1/3, he gave up.
That was Colorado at home. Pardon me for interrupting you.
Yeah.
That was Colorado in St. Louis.
Yeah, and then you got Miami in Miami, which is a better part than even St. Louis, and he gets lit up for 5 earned. Gave up 6 total runs.
Miami's hit him twice this year. 10 innings, 10 runs, 9 of them earned in 2 starts against Miami this year, Lance Lynn. Are you kidding me? That alone makes me not want to start him anywhere because you just can't trust him. Yeah, I can't do this with Atlanta Cincy. I love Lynn. We're longtime fans of his. That does not convince me to start him in fantasy these days.
Yeah, like over his last 3 starts. So if you're looking from June 7th on, he has a 7.90 ERA and a 183 whip. And against 3 of the worst teams in baseball. So yeah, I would consider sitting him in an NL only, honestly.
Absolutely. Like what are you getting?
You should be dropping him. Like,
correct.
You should
cut Lynn in NL.
Yeah.
Totally agree. All right, let's go to a much more compelling option here. Brandon Pfaadt. Minnesota and Oakland, both at home. The thing that Oakland was doing when they were finding some success early on was hitting the ball hard. They're popping some homers. I actually want to see if they're still up there in homers, because that is the one thing that Brandon Pfaadt does have some trouble with. They're still sixth in homers. So, they were trending like top 2 or 3 for a good while. They've only dipped down to 6. But it's Minnesota and Oakland both at home for Brandon Pfaadt. He has a 4.37 ERA on the season, but a 1.18 whip. So he goes the opposite way of somebody like Lynn, where the ERA doesn't jump out. It's actually a little bit but then you look at the whip and you say, okay, there's better skills here. And it probably is the home runs, because when Pfaadt is off, he gives up homers, multi-runs, boom, you get the ERA inflated over the whip. He's been much better at home, 3.41 ERA to 5.03 on the road, 4 homers versus 7 home and road. Is that enough to start the double home dip for Brandon Pfaadt, Minnesota, Oakland?
I mean, he's really only had one bad homer game. He gave up 3 home runs at San Diego, which is
that's good.
And you might have been able to avoid that. Other than that, he's got a 1.09 homer per 9. Like, that is...
We can live with that. Yeah,
that's
okay.
Totally fine. And he doesn't walk guys, so when he does give up a homer or even 2, like, it doesn't really hurt him. I think Brandon Pfaadt's been one of the unluckiest pitchers in baseball, to be quite honest. Like, I think he's been really, really good this year, and we haven't really noticed it because he pitches in Arizona, and Arizona hasn't been very good. And the ERA is 4.37, but the xERA is 3.26.
Yeah.
And like you said, the whip is good. And he's getting he's still getting, a fair amount of strikeouts, just under a strikeout an inning. I think if Brandon Pfaadt's xERA was his ERA and it had 3.26 ERA, we'd be talking about Brandon Pfaadt as one of the biggest breakouts in baseball.
For sure.
And I think that's where he's headed in the second half. I think this is the last opportunity to buy low on Brandon Pfaadt.
So you definitely would like Pfaadt to improve his 65% left on base rate.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Yeah, he's getting super unlucky in the strand rate right now. So,
the skills are there. All the ERA indicators, whichever one you like, is going to be hot. The xERA is the best at 3.26, but the FIP and Sierra are both under 4 as well. Like, the skills are saying that Pfaadt has upside here to be something special. So we like him in a 2-step, and we like him beyond that. I agree with you on Brandon Pfaadt. I'm definitely there. I don't think I'm there on this guy, but he pitches for the Dodgers. It's 2 interesting outings, and you might be able to steal some wins. James Paxton has a 3.65 ERA, which actually just surprised me, because when I was saying I was out, I thought his ERA was still over 4. But I think back-to-back starts of 13 innings, 2 earned is why his ERA is down. But he still has a 1.31 whip, so he's one of those whip killers. He gets a trip to the White Sox and a trip to your Giants. Is that enough to get James Paxton in there, or is the ever-present threat of meltdown too much? Like his at Pittsburgh 1 2/3, 7 earned, at Cincy 5 earned. I guess those are the only 2 mega duds, though. They kind of protected him from the mega duds, but before that, where are you at on Paxton? Because I kind of, as I looked further into this, I kind of talked myself into it. I think I'm a little bit more in than I was coming into this.
I mean, this is like, you're talking about the cherry bomb, which is one of those Nick
Nickisms.
Things. Yeah. I think that is James Paxton to like the T. Like,
yes.
Just, it's kind of a roll of the dice. Like, you never know when it's going to come up, snake eyes, and you're just going to get absolutely murdered. But like, he does pitch for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are not in the position where they were early on in the season, where like, or even like a month ago, where it's like, oh, look at this rotation the Dodgers have. They've got so many options. They can move to a 6-man. They can, send someone to the bullpen. Or
not with the injuries now.
They really can't do that right now. They don't have Yamamoto. I think.
At least they got Miller back.
Yeah, they got Miller back, but Bueller's, not
off.
He's not been good since coming back from Tommy John. So, I'm a lot more. I think they have to put some faith in James Paxton and just kind of let him go. So, I think these starts are pretty good for kind of picking, and
yeah.
Could it go bad? Yeah, but like, you get the Dodgers offense behind him, and even without Mookie, like, it's the best.
Yeah, it's still good to have the Dodgers support with James Paxton. He's 7-1. And that's with 4 starts coming in under 5 innings. So he couldn't even do anything but take a loss in those. So he got 7 wins in his other 9 starts. And that is exactly what we're talking about when we're win hunting on a good team. So yeah, like I said, I came in being a little bit nervous about Paxton as we kind of went through all the information here. I'm in on this. 15s, I think 12s. I might roll the dice in 10s if I'm just wins chasing.
Yeah, I could totally understand.
And like you said, just go in completely eyes wide open, knowing that either of these could be a 7-earned bomb, because that's just the James Paxton experience. And you won't, I mean, you'll still be upset if it happens, but at least you shouldn't be blindsided. That's just
Yeah.
an ever-present risk with him. What about Matt Waldron? Is he graduating to where maybe he doesn't need to be on this list anymore? I don't know. You can let me decide, or you can help me decide that. 83 innings now of a 3.46 ERA and a 1.16 WHIP, 22% K rate. He gets Washington and a trip to Boston. We talked about him recently on the, are these pitchers actually good? And I think we had some confidence in him. Is he graduating off the 2-start list, meaning we don't have to discuss him? He's just a get in there when it's a 2-step for Matt Waldron.
I watched his last start at Philadelphia, and now he definitely got lucky to get out of that one unscathed, because I think it was the first inning he loaded the bases and got a couple of really good calls from the home plate umpire in order to kind of get out of that jam. I think only giving up 1 run. But then was fantastic the rest of the start. Like he just he has got this, like, there's nothing in his profile or in his repertoire that is like overpowering, but each pitch gives such a different look that he really just fools hitters. Like hitters just don't like, and even when he can't, like the knuckle, he can't command it super well because it's a knuckleball. But like it is just such a different look than everything else in that repertoire that hitters are just like caught in between that knuckle and the fastball.
It's been great for Waldron.
Yeah.
He got, sorry, real quick. He got blasted in Arizona for 8 runs, 7 of them earned. In 8 starts since then, he's given up 10 earned runs combined. Like he's been fantastic. So, are you trusting Waldron then?
Yeah, I mean, I think he got him until it, Washington isn't a very good offense. They can make a fair amount of contact, and Boston has been hotter as of late offensively. But like, I don't know how you don't just keep rolling Waldron until something bad happens.
Yeah. First off, finding pitching just isn't deep enough to be like, oh, I can turn my nose up at this. So yeah, I'm definitely running Waldron everywhere.
Pitching is so bad. We're going to talk about this next guy.
Yeah, so we're in on Waldron, and I think another good 2-step here. Then the next time he's on the 2-start list, we might not have to talk Waldron. He's been really nice.
Yeah.
Spencer Howard, on the other hand, he's Spencer Howard. Am I wrong? Did you like him as a prospect with Pittsburgh? Or I mean, with Philly? Okay, I thought so.
Prospect, yeah.
I thought so, because now he's on your favorite team, and you're less enamored with him, and I get it. I do definitely understand. Did we talk about him recently?
I don't think we have.
We have not. Okay. Anyway, he gets the Cubs and the Dodgers. Including the Dodgers is probably enough to totally throw it out. But I'm curious if you've seen anything out of him that has you at all interested in Spencer Howard.
I was a little interested when they first brought him up, because they were bringing him in as a follower. And so he was going like 4 innings, right? They have now just said, oh, we're going to let you start, but you're not going to go 5. He's not gone 5 in any outing. And his last 2, his last start, and then he came in for a relief appearance against the Cubs. He's gone 2 1/3 and 1 inning. There's nothing here. Like he just can't find the zone. Like it is.
He doesn't miss bats. Like The only thing going well in the 17 innings we've seen out of Spencer Howard is the home run suppression. I didn't think there was anything here. I just know that you watch, this is your ball club, the Giants, even though I'm the one wearing the Giants cap today. Just seeing if you had picked up anything like, oh, actually, no, I can get on the board with this. But nah, he's just eating up some innings from them. And he might not even start. Like, he's penciled in as the starter right now. If they keep using him in this hybrid role, he might not even be a traditional 2-star. But don't get caught up in Spencer Howard's old prospect pedigree. I don't think it's worth it.
Nope.
All right, Justin, that's going to do it. A little bit of a quicker board, but I do think there are some interesting options out there. Do you have a favorite that you think would be available in 10s that you want to go out and get?
I think maybe Schwellenbach might be my favorite that's available. I mean, obviously, I think my favorite is, Pfaadt or Waldron.
Sure, but they're probably rostered
they're
in
probably
least some 10s.
and Tyler Anderson's probably rostered, in
with that shiny ERA, yeah.
So I think of the guys that might be available, I think Schwellenbach is probably the dude that I'm going for.
Schwelly or an Angel, because again, Anderson probably more rostered because he has a 2.46 ERA, and some people just gravitate toward that. But Canning might be available, and with Detroit, Oakland, I'm going to go back to the well on Canning for the billionth time. But I'm with you on Schwelly. He should have some 10-team availability. You can go out and get him. It's not a bad landscape this week. I think there might even be. Maybe not with 7 wins. I was gonna say there might be some 10-team availability for Paxton. He should be rostered everywhere, right?
I would think so, but if he's not, then yeah, take a gamble.
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check because sometimes I assume those things, and then I'm really, really surprised. Like when I check roster rates, and I'm like, oh wow, no, he's definitely not that roster. Who did I say? Oh, James Paxton. 25% rostered according to Fantasy Pros, and that's ESPN and Yahoo. So much more widely available than we thought, which means that Schwellenbach's is going to be available a good bit, I bet. He's 7%. I bet Tyler Anderson's even more available than we thought. He is, I misspelled it, cool. Tyler Anderson, why is he not showing up on this list? Oh, because I put 2 spaces. He's 43% rostered. So there's a lot of availability for these guys in shallower leagues. You can go out, get some 2 starts, and have a good time. Justin, it was great talking with you this week. Awesome to have Jason on earlier in the week, which means you guys are not talking this Sunday, though, right? Didn't he say that on the show?
We are not talking this Sunday with Jason. However, I've already brought in a pinch hitter. He comes from the Pitcher List Network, so he's actually a relief pitcher. I'm bringing in a fresh arm. Eric Samolsky's joining us, or joining me, and so that means while we will talk fab options, we will also have the final debate on Riley Green, because Eric may be the biggest Riley Green fan, and I may be the biggest Riley Green hater. So it is time to finally settle the debate.
I'm here for this. I want to hear this.
On whether Riley Green is a good fantasy player or not.
He is a god. Besmirch him at your own risk, you absolute heathen. Okay, that's how I feel about that. All right, great talking with you. Have a good time with Eric. We will chat on Monday.
Take it easy.